Welcome back, marketers. Are you tired of
Swing your legs over onto the bed. Go ahead and get comfortable.
prospecting, cold calls, getting rejected by gatekeepers? You need a proven B2B marketing growth hack, and I'm excited that you're here with us today. I'm Amy Walker. I'm a client acquisition specialist and small business strategist. I help small business owners just like you be able to create predictable, consistent sales through their organic marketing and also their sales strategy and sales teams.
And our lavender, they're natural infusions, and trust me,
I know everybody always wants that one thing that's gonna, crack open this tough nut of B2B marketing. But what I'm gonna show you today is the simplest B2B marketing strategy that is going to create and produce the most consistent and predictable results. So we're going to first talk about why B2B marketing is challenging. Then I'm going to go through the strategy with you. And if you stay until the end, I'm going to show you how you can integrate vertical markets in order to scale to 7 or even 8 figures in your business. So first of all, let's talk about why B2B marketing is hard. Number one, budget. A lot of the B2B conferences and events that you go to, the sponsorships are pretty pricey. They can be sometimes $15,000 to $20,000, which is a lot of money up front.
And they're paying you a royalty on unit sales?
Definitely worth it if you close a lot of business, but it can definitely be pricey. It's more expensive to advertise, and sometimes you can't even reach them through Facebook ads. There are certain industries that I'm like, nope, we're not even going to touch ads there. You've got to use all organic strategies. There are gatekeepers in B2B. So there is somebody whose job is to make sure that nobody wasting time gets through on the other end. And finally, sometimes it has a longer sales cycle. Like from the time that you first create the prospect and you build the relationship until the deal actually closes, it can take a long time. So I understand that B2B marketing can be challenging, but this formula, this strategy that I'm going to show you really works.
Well, let's leave the skepticism for 1 minute. I just want you to just, because it's all nonsense. Look, you guys,
it works in B2C, but specifically in B2B, this is going to be like a gold mine for you right here. So let's go through the strategy. I use this with all of my clients. It's called PPPEC. It's an acronym that will help you remember these different components to the puzzle. So the very first one is prospecting. Now you've probably been doing prospecting, but you've probably also gotten annoyed that prospecting takes so much time and that you have a lot of people that just don't ever respond. That all is frustrating, and I'm not saying that we're going to get that to go away, but I am saying we're going to be more strategic in both our software and also our reach out strategies in order to get more yeses. I recommend that you have a low-cost virtual assistant based somewhere like the Philippines that can do the volume of the prospecting reach outs. So that way you're not personally spending so much of your time as the business owner, or your closer's not spending so much of their time, because it's just very time consuming. So you might as well pay somebody $6 an hour plus a closing bonus. They'll be super happy to do that job, and then you can just focus on the people who are actually progressing in the conversation flow. The other thing that I recommend is you change your approach to prospecting. Here's a few things that are no longer working, and here's a few things that are working. Really long reach outs, no longer working. Vague connection requests, like let's see if we have any synergy, no longer working. What is really working is a powerful question that is going to get them thinking and get them to, and will elicit a response. To just start a conversation and then asking for permission before you start pitching to them. That's going to make a big difference in your prospecting efforts. The second is going to be profitable partnerships. There are people out there who could literally open doors for you that would generate hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales. Let's find more of those relationships. In fact, you could use your prospecting to go after profitable referral partnerships. And that in itself can open up doors in B2B so much easier, because somebody that they have a relationship is now going to introduce them to you, your response rate will go through the roof when it is involved in an introduction with somebody they already know, like, and trust. The fourth P is building your platform. So this is where you're going to show that you are an expert in your field and that you know what you're talking about. So this could be getting yourself published in the right magazine. This could be creating a series of videos that answer some specific questions that clients are having. But we want to be able to really open up the door to them seeing that we have the goods, we know what we're doing, we know what we're talking about. It doesn't mean that your social media needs to be blowing up every single day, because a lot of times in B2B, those people aren't necessarily looking at your social media or finding you through there. I will say they will go look at it, but it's more like to look at it and see what you're about after you've reached out to them through another way. Not because they just happen to be scrolling on social media and found you. It just works a little bit differently. So we want to be more strategic and focus on fewer pieces total, but higher quality in each of the pieces you put out. The E is for events. Are you hosting events? Are you sponsoring events? Are you speaking at events? Are you in the expo center? I want you to actually be able to have real engagement with your potential clients. Even just attending events to network, it should be a part of your B2B strategy, because a lot of times that's where the business owners show up, is at industry conferences. So you want to make sure that you're there. And then the C is community. In B2B, there are always communities that support an industry. These are associations, these are conferences, these are specific groups, specific publications. There's already a community built to establish your industry. Who are the community leaders? How can you engage and plug in with those communities and be a support to them? Show up to serve the greater community. Volunteer on a board for an association, but get involved in the planning that supports your community, and you will find that your relationships really open up. And all of these things that I'm sharing with you can significantly drive your marketing costs down, but make your B2B marketing plan so much more effective. Let me give you some specific examples of how I've seen this turn things around with clients. I have a client and a good friend who is a phenomenal trainer and speaker who works specifically with orthodontists. So Facebook ads weren't working, sponsoring booths at expos where nobody knew him wasn't working. And so we had to figure out, well, what does this really look like? So here's how we built his PPPEC. Prospecting, we looked for all of the events and conferences for his industry. Who were the different doctors on the boards, the advisory boards? And then we prospected them and we reached out to them to invite them to come and be on his podcast. So that was what our strategy was for prospecting. For referral partnerships, we then looked at all of the software companies that support his industry, and we reached out to them and invited them to be on his podcast. And then we created strategic partnerships with them where they would either invite him to come and speak at their user meeting, or have him do a webinar, or, promote something that he was doing that was coming up. For platform building, we found that the platform that the team members were on the most was Instagram. And so he started putting out really fun, engaging content that was not even geared towards the doctors, it was geared towards their teams. And with events, we started getting him speaking at the events instead of just being a vendor at the events. And then we started getting him emceeing at the event, so he had more stage time. And then we started having his team run the booths at the events so that they could really maximize that space. With this particular community, it's a pretty tight-knit community. There's not that many of them. A lot of them are engaged in study groups, or they have their friends that they went to school with. We started plugging in where the people were and joining the groups for the team members, for the orthos, creating strategic partnerships within the industry. And it really helped to shift the flow where he was now an established name that people knew and that he had predictable, consistent lead flow. If this content is helpful, make sure that you like the video and then hit the subscribe button and the bell notification so you can get notified every time we release new content. Let me give you another example. So I have a client who's an insurance agent, and he was wanting to, this was an established business that he actually bought from his dad, so like 30 years old, wanting to increase sales and bring in some new business, even though they had a good established business. So one referral partnership, he created a referral partnership that increased their new revenues by 30% that year with one referral partnership. So he built a relationship with somebody who was a home builder. And then he asked the home builder, do you have like a preferred person that does your loan processing? And then they created just a little partnership where the guy who built the houses would refer people to their preferred lender. And then the preferred lender would say, I'd like to introduce you to our preferred insurance agent. And then he would get the home policies and he would bundle it with the auto policy. And so he was able to create a 30% increase in new business through one referral partnership. Now, here's the thing that I want you to understand. Every business is going to have their unique recipe. I want you to picture it like there's a bunch of knobs in front of you. And for one business, prospecting might be turned up really high and events might be down kind of low. For another business, you might do a lot of partnerships and somebody else might do a little bit less. So it's about finding the right formula and the right balance for your business where each of those areas is bringing in the consistency of the lead flow that you want. Because consistent leads today creates consistent sales down the road. That is the process that it takes to build something that is scalable. Now, I told you that I was going to share with you how you could use this strategy and take it into vertical markets in order to grow to 8 figures. It's really pretty simple. Once you find the formula that works for you, you can build like $500,000 or $1 million funnel in one industry. Once you get this working in one vertical industry, you can take it to another. So let's say that you dial in your PPPEC and you're doing it for orthodontists. Well, guess what? The next thing I would do is I would take that same exact flow and I would put it in with dentists. And then I would take that and I would put it in with family practice doctors. And then I would put it in with chiropractors. And so if you were doing $500,000 in each of those, now all of a sudden you have a multi-million-dollar business, right? Or if you're doing $1 million in each of those, now you can grow that up and now you can have an 8-figure business. So this process of dialing it in and figuring out how it works is so critical because once you've mastered it, the sky's the limit. All right, now you know the B2B marketing hack that is going to make your process so much simpler. I really want you to go check out my next video. It's a 15-minute masterclass on how to fix the 5 biggest problems in your marketing, and it's going to walk you even deeper into how to create consistent leads. If you're digging this and you're like, I need to put this into practice, go watch the next video. I can't wait to see you there.